Hello and welcome back to ArxangelRC. Good news today, I finally have a new plane to review, and that plane is the new Volantex Ranger 2000. Links as usual can be found in the description below. This interesting new model is meant to be a successor to the famed FPV Raptor series. Sadly, the name did not carry over, and like Volantex have told me, quote, it ended up looking like the Ranger X, so we decided to expand the Ranger line. At this point I am not certain if there will be a new model named Raptor. I rather like that name. Anyway, back to the Ranger 2000. What surprised me pleasantly out of the box was that all control surfaces except the rudder and the flaps had carbon rods in them for additional strength, and none of them were warped like used to be the case with the Raptor 2 for instance. In addition, all control surfaces have proper hinges pre-installed. Another thing that caught my attention was that the elevator and rudder servos had been moved to the tail where I had put them on my Raptor V2 when I was done modifying it. It is always nice to see that somebody is paying attention. The fuselage is made of the same flexible plastic material as the Raptor and Ranger X planes, and I have always loved that, as it is amazingly tough and can take so much beating, and it can't even compare to EPO models. I definitely want to see more planes out of this material, as that will outlast any other option. You also get the standard gear mounting plate right behind the motor, as well as some openings in the fuselage for wiring. Interesting thing is that the fuselage is narrower than the Raptor, but it is slightly taller. I'm curious how much battery capacity I can fit in there comfortably. That number for the Raptor was 6S 6600 mAh. As the plane comes almost fully pre-assembled, there was very little to do on it. Push rods and control horns needed to be installed and set up, and that's pretty much it. I mounted the included prop just so I can test the system 100% stock, but it needed some balancing, so I did the tried and tested method of moving it around on the motor until I found a position where there were fewer vibrations. So all that is left is to put the spars on. The shorter one goes at the front, and then mount the wings on. This is super easy and quick now thanks to the new wing clips that lock them tightly in place. This assembly is just as quick. What I found interesting is that the wings have spars going in them, and the longer one goes almost all the way to the wingtip. This makes the wings very rigid. Volantex claim they have put the additional smaller part at the front so that the wing is more rigid in high wind situations, which potentially makes this perfect for slope soaring, but also makes the decision to put plastic servos on the plane a very strange one, as they will probably not last very long in high wind scenarios. Okay, let's get to flying, but if you want more details on the plane and the assembly, please follow the link to my blog in the video description below for the full written review. With all control surfaces seemingly trimmed neutral and a working motor, the plane flew off in the air as easy as a feather, but admittedly it is very light in its stock form. A word of warning here, the plane will not balance with the recommended 3S 2200 mAh battery, so make sure you add more weight in there or use a larger battery. There are balance markings on the wings. Use them. So, first impressions were good. The plane is able to maintain altitude at around 40% throttle and was able to fly both slow and fast depending on the situation. Being me and having suffered a lot from the Raptor's tendency to tip stall, that was absolutely the next thing I decided to test. I'm happy to report that the new wing profile is pretty good and the plane did not want to tip stall. I even tried helping it a little by applying full up elevator and even some rudder, but still no luck. It would dip to the side, pick up speed, go up, speed drops, and the process just repeats. The moment I let go of the sticks, the plane just flies as normal. Not sure how things will change when I load it up, but my first impressions are very good, to put it mildly. And don't get me started on the glide characteristics. I'm finding it very hard to land this one where I want to, because the moment it is close to touching down and I apply a little elevator to try and kill the speed, the Ranger just shoots up and gains enough altitude that keep it in the air another 50 meters. It may be that I'm just not used to planes as light as this one, but for me that was quite impressive. Another thing that was a problem with the Raptor and the Ranger X was the nose down issue, where applying more throttle resulted in the motor pushing the plane's nose down, so you had to apply elevator to keep the plane flying level. On the Ranger 2000, Volantex have a completely new design on the motor mount and the motor angle, and to my surprise, throttling up barely registers on the plane's attitude in the air. I was not able to see any noticeable amount of anything resembling a nose down action when I went from 0 to full throttle and back down to 0. And what's more important, the motor's angle is not that high up, so you would have improved efficiency over the much higher up angle on the Raptor and the Ranger X, because all of the thrust from the motor would be going almost straight back rather than up and back. Yes, you can't use a 10-inch prop now, but my initial tests have not indicated that to be a huge problem for its efficiency. So moving on to one of the issues I ran into, I do have a long-standing relationship with Volantex, so they actually sent me the ready-to-fly version of the Ranger 2000, which includes a battery, a charger and a radio system. Problem is, out of the box the radio system had exactly 50 to 60 meters of range, which was quite annoying. On the Maiden, having to fly such a large plane so close in a circle really didn't help me get a feel for the trims, although later on it turned out that there was pretty much no trim needed except for a few clicks of up elevator to make it fly straight and true. One good thing about the radio's range problems was the fact that I quickly found out how agile this thing is, and that the new wing is much better than the one on the Raptor V2. I also found out that even without radio signal the plane glides pretty well, and it does fare pretty good in a soft crash / rough landing situation. That actually once again reinforced my trust in this plastic fuselage. It takes a beating like a champ with virtually no damage to show for it. Once I got it down, I actually had to mount the receiver antenna straight vertical, but keep in mind you will have to fix it in some way to make it keep its shape. That was the only way I could get it not to lose signal 50 meters away. Once I adjusted the antenna, I did not see any more loss of signal at the distances I was flying at the field. But this receiver was surprisingly picky when it comes to antenna placement. I certainly hope this is a problem only with my unit. Maybe further down the line someone else with a ready-to-fly set could chime in and tell us if his behaves the same way. I did a quick search but was not able to find the plane offered in the ready-to-fly package anywhere, so for the time being I don't expect anyone else will have issues with the stock radio system. On the second day of flights I decided to test the efficiency of the model and got a few different batteries with me to the field. The stock 3S 2200 mAh pack was able to keep the plane in the air just over 20 minutes before it was discharged down to 3.5 volts on one cell and higher on the rest. The charger put back about 1.8 amps, so not the highest quality pack, but I guess it could work for a while until somebody learns to fly on this and gears it up for more serious stuff. I then put in a 3S 5200 mAh pack, and in 58 minutes the plane had consumed around 4.4 amps, which is pretty decent for a stock setup. Upon landing, the motor was just a little bit warmer than I would expect out of such a long flight, but I guess it could have been worse. The plastic servos held up fine, but both days when I flew there was pretty much no wind to speak of. In any case, when I tear it down for a rebuild, I will do away with the plastic servos in favor of some metal geared ones. I will also replace the ESC, the motor and the prop in a bid to try and squeeze out a bit more efficiency out of this one before I put in the autopilot and start playing with FPV and long range. For the time being, I think I will try to keep it on 3S because I also have something else planned for it, and a lower voltage would be easier to work with, but we will see how this is going to turn out in the end. If I had to make a recommendation about which version of this plane to get, I would say go with the kit version if you have any experience building a plane and have any idea how to select components for one. In the $50 you will have to pay extra for the plug-and-play version, you can easily get better Metal Gear servos, a quality ESC, an external UBEC to power the servos, a prop and a motor. Okay, so you may end up spending another $10 on top of that, but it is still a better deal than paying the additional $50 for the plug-and-play version and then having to spend another $60 or more to outfit it properly. On the other hand, if you have no experience building one of these, the plug-and-play or ready-to-fly sets might just be the right thing for you, as they would require very little work to get going and are a nice option to get started on, and you would only start replacing stuff when you feel like it is time to move to FPV and the more serious stuff that comes with it. Overall, as a plane, this model has been stellar so far, and I applaud Volantex for actually listening to all of our complaining on some of the issues with the Raptor and actually getting down to work and fixing those. My dream is to one day make them ship these planes with metal geared servos and hobby wing ESCs, and hopefully we will get there at some point, but for the time being your options are either the kit or the plug-and play with the plastic servos, and I would recommend getting the kit version for those with some experience and outfitting it with higher quality electronics, because I feel like this plane would be capable of some good FPV feats. All I know is I'm super confident to fly this bird as slow as I feel, and it does not try to kill itself, so I would actually even recommend this for total beginners as well. Takeoff is easy as a breeze and it just handles super nicely in the air, even at full control surface travel with no expo on. So again, well done Volantex. Keep up the good work, and guys, if you have liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and also follow me on Facebook for daily updates. If you have liked any of the items featured in this video, please consider buying them via the links in the description below, as this will go a long way towards supporting this channel and would be greatly appreciated. Happy flying now, and I will see you next time.